Shalom. This week we are entering Parashat Behar-Bechukotai. And because this week also carries BaOmer, the day connected with Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and the light of the Zohar, I want to look at this parashah through the eyes of the Zohar. Not in a complicated way, but in a way we can actually take into our week. Behar means on the mountain. Bechukotai means in my statutes. So right away, the double portion gives us a movement. First, we stand at the mountain. Then we ask, how do we walk from the mountain into real life? How do we take revelation and make it into a rhythm? The Torah opens Behar with Shemitah, the sabbatical year. 6 years you work the land. You plant, prune, harvest, produce, plan, push, and build. Then the 7th year arrives, and the land rests. Not because the land is lazy, not because work is bad. The land rests because creation also needs trust. The field itself becomes a teacher. It says, you are not the owner of everything. You are a guest. You are a partner. You are a caretaker. And sometimes, the holiest thing you can do is stop grabbing. The Zohar takes this even deeper. It says the 7th year is not only a farming law, it is a spiritual state. Shemitah is called the Shabbat of the land. And the Zohar says that in it there is rest for spirit and body. Not just a nap, not just a holiday. Rest from judgment, rest from pressure, rest from the voice inside us that says, if I stop, I disappear. According to the Zohar, Shemitah reveals freedom. The freedom to know that blessing does not only come from my hands. Blessing also comes from Hashem. That is not an easy lesson, because most of us are not scared of working. We are scared of stopping. We know how to hustle. We know how to answer messages. We know how to keep one eye on the phone while having a conversation. We know how to say, I am fine, when really we are running on fumes. The Zohar asks us to notice that the land can become holy by resting. And if land can become holy by resting, maybe a soul can too. BaOmer makes this week feel even more alive. The tradition connects that day with Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, the great sage around whom the Zohar is centered. So, we are not only reading about rest and release, we are reading it in a week that reminds us that hidden light can break through ordinary time. A bonfire is not gentle light. It is not a candle in the corner. It is a public flame. Like BaOmer says that the inner Torah is not meant to stay buried. It has to warm people. It has to gather people. It has to turn darkness into a place where souls can see each other. And that is exactly what Shemitah does. It brings hidden truth into public life. Suddenly, the field is not just a field. It is a spiritual classroom. Money is not just money. It is a test of compassion. Ownership is not just ownership. It is a question. Can I hold what I have without becoming hard? Then comes the famous human question. The Torah says, you may ask, what are we going to eat in the 7th year? And honestly, that question is so real. What will happen if I loosen my grip? What will happen if I give? What will happen if I forgive a debt? What will happen if I stop treating every blessing as private property? The Zohar reads that question through the verse in Tehillim. Trust in Hashem and do good. Not trust in Hashem and do nothing. Trust in Hashem and do good. That is so important. Bitachon, trust, is not passivity. It is not sitting back and saying everything will magically fix itself. The Zohar says our actions below awaken movement above. When we do good, when we act with generosity, when we open our hand, we awaken a flow of blessing. So the question is not only, what will I eat? The deeper question is, what kind of world am I feeding? Am I feeding fear or am I feeding faith? Am I feeding scarcity or am I feeding generosity? Am I feeding the part of me that hoards or the part of me that trusts there is enough light to share? This is why Shemitah and Yovel, the Jubilee, are so powerful together. 7 years, 7 times 7 years, 49 years. Then the 50th year arrives with release, return, and freedom. The Zohar connects these cycles with the inner structure of holiness. The lower world and the higher world, Malkuth and Binah, earth and understanding, begin to echo each other. In simple language, The Zohar is saying that when we build a rhythm of sacred stopping, the physical world starts to remember its spiritual source. And that is the secret of a cycle. One Shabbat can calm a week. One Shemitah can heal 7 years. One moment of real return can change a whole life. We do not become free only by escaping something. We become free when we return to what is true. There is another detail here that I love. Shemitah is not only private spiritual wellness. It is also social repair. The land rests, but people also become softer. The poor, the stranger, the worker, the animal, everyone has a place in the blessing of the field. The Zohar pushes us to see that rest is not only about my nervous system. It is about the whole camp. When one person never stops, other people often pay the price. When a society never stops, the land pays the price. Shemitah interrupts that. It says, no blessing is complete if it leaves people crushed underneath it. Then Bechukotai begins. If you walk in my statutes. Notice, the Torah does not say, if you think about my statutes. It says, if you walk. Judaism is not only a philosophy, it is a way of walking. How do I walk into my house? How do I walk into a conversation? How do I walk when I am angry? How do I walk when nobody is watching? How do I walk when I have power over someone else? The blessings in Bechukotai are beautiful. Rain in its time. The land giving produce. Peace in the land. But then come the warnings, the tohahah. And those verses can feel heavy. The Zohar helps us hear them not as rejection, but as relationship. A person can only be corrected by someone who still wants closeness. The goal is not punishment for punishment's sake. The goal is to wake us up before disconnection becomes normal. And that may be the hardest part to accept. Sometimes we call it freedom when nobody can tell us anything. But the Zohar knows a deeper freedom. Real freedom is not being left alone in our worst patterns. Real freedom is when Hashem loves us enough to pull us back toward life. The warnings are not there to make us despair. They are there because the covenant is alive. A dead relationship does not argue. A living relationship still calls your name. And then, in the middle of all this, comes one of the most tender lines in the Torah. I will place my dwelling among you, and I will walk among you. The Zohar says that the dwelling, the Mishkan, is the Shechinah, the divine presence. It is like a pledge. Hashem lives with us. The Zohar gives a picture that is almost shockingly intimate. It compares it to someone who loves a friend and wants to live close. So he brings his own bed into the friend's house and says, "Now you know I am not leaving you." Think about that. The Zohar is saying that the Shechinah is not only an idea. It is Hashem making closeness tangible. It is the divine saying, I am not just visiting your life. I am placing something precious here. I am letting my presence rest in your home, in your camp, in your ordinary days. That changes how we understand holiness. Holiness is not only running away from the world. Holiness is making the world a place where the Shechinah can stay. It means the kitchen can matter. The business meeting can matter. The way we speak to a child can matter. The way we pay a worker can matter. The way we let the land breathe and the way we let people breathe can matter. And then the Zohar brings the next phrase, I will walk among you. Once the Mishkan is with you, you know Hashem is walking with you, not only above you, not only ahead of you, with you. There is a kind of spiritual maturity that stops asking only, how do I reach heaven? And starts asking, how do I make my camp holy enough for heaven to walk here? This is why the double portion belongs together. Behar teaches us to release control. Bechukotai teaches us to turn release into a path. Behar says, let the land rest. Bechukotai says, now walk differently. Behar says, stop acting like everything belongs to you. Bechukotai says, start acting like you belong to Hashem. And the Zohar ties it all together with the Shechinah. When we release, give, trust, and walk with holiness, divine presence has room to dwell. One more thing. This teaching is not only for farmers and not only for people living in the biblical land system. The Zohar is reading the Torah as a map of the soul. Every one of us has land. Your land is the part of life you cultivate every day. Your family, your work, your creativity, your health, your spiritual practice. If that land is never allowed to breathe, it will still produce for a while, but it will stop singing. So, Shemitah asks, where has my life become all output and no holiness? Yovel asks, what needs to return to its rightful place? And Bechukotai asks, can I turn that insight into footsteps, not just inspiration? That is why this parashah is so practical. It does not let us keep mysticism in the clouds. The Zohar brings the clouds down into the field, into the wallet, into the home, into the way we speak, and into the way we walk right here in real life today. That is the heart of Behar and Bechukotai according to the Zohar. Rest is not emptiness. Rest is trust. Trust is not laziness. Trust becomes good action. Good action awakens blessing. Blessing becomes closeness. And closeness becomes walking with Hashem. So, what do we do with this parashah this week? First, choose one place to stop grabbing. Maybe it is your schedule. Maybe it is a grudge. Maybe it is a fear about money. Maybe it is the need to control how everyone sees you. Let one little field rest. Second, do one act of good that scares your scarcity. Give something. Share something. Forgive something. Encourage someone. The Zohar says, goodness below awakens goodness above. So, do not wait until your heart feels perfect. Act and let the action open the heart. Third, make your home or your room or even your desk a place the Shechinah would want to stay. Clean one corner. Lower one harsh stone. Put one holy book where you will see it. Light one inner candle by choosing peace over drama. And fourth, walk differently. The parashah says, if you walk in my statutes. So this week, before you enter a hard conversation, pause and ask, how would I walk if Hashem were walking with me right now? Not watching to catch me, walking with me to help me become more whole. That is the gift of this double portion. Behar lifts us up to the mountain. Bechukotai brings the mountain into our steps. The Zohar shows us that the deepest holiness is not always louder, faster, and more impressive. Sometimes the deepest holiness is a field at rest, a hand open in trust, a home made gentle, and a person walking through the world as if the divine presence is close. May we merit that kind of week. May our work be blessed, and may our rest be blessed. May we learn when to plant and when to release. May we feed faith more than fear. And may the Shechinah find room among us until we can truly feel Hashem walking with us. Shalom.